So let's focus on Solana because I don't mind Sol here at all. Now, this is a really nice looking bottom formation in that it had a deviation below this level and then recovered it. And then we've had the really strong weekly candle through here, through 50 on the RSI, through the 10, through the 20. We're now coming up to this incredibly important overhead level of the 200 and also this horizontal. It would make sense from here for this to really test it out above 100 and hopefully rip through. But we'll wait and see on that. But I think there's a 10 to 12 to 15% move on the offering here. This is my one to watch because it is part of that majors mix. And it looks really promising against Bitcoin too. And that's kind of my not silver bullet, but it allows us to have a bit more conviction in which way the wind is blowing. On the daily, we are in overbought. But I want to point out, guys, that just because it's an overbought doesn't mean it's about to reverse. In fact, this just shows you bulls are strong. It can remain in this type of territory for weeks and months. And what you actually want to see is it running into a major resistance level or a new level. And you want to see the RSI actually reset back down to the, I guess, the power zone base, which is about 70, maybe a little bit lower. And then it can continue on its merry way. But the most bullish thing you can see is some of these assets consolidating under resistance. Again, recency bias would tell us you sell into some of these pumps, and it still might hold true here. So let's keep moving through. So my cherry ripe today is Ethereum. Yeah, she's been outperforming Bitcoin over the last month and a bit. So that has been a bit of a tell. And what ETH is doing here, particularly as well, if we look at, let's go to far side investors and have a look at the flows coming in. The institutional bid on Bitcoin and Ethereum is relentless. So if the tide has turned, you're going to see this underpinning demand driver of ETFs come through. And these are big numbers for ETH. I mean, we've had, again, single digits for a very long time and outflows consistently. I mean, you see one here that's sort of coming out of nowhere, but broadly, the trend has been very small numbers. These are really big coming in, and it happened along with Bitcoin with that macro news coming through. So this is very interesting because ETH has been so heavily sold into, it just doesn't have enough sellers anymore if demand via some of these larger products just hits the tape. You know, the volumes are still quite thin. If demand comes in and the sellers are kind of given up, then this is what creates bottoms and sends us back into a new bull market. But ETH here, just look at the structure, double bottom down here on this level at 1500, had a horizontal here to make a new higher high, and it did that, clipped up above, and now it's doing what we discussed that I want to see on Solana, which is it got above the level and now it's consolidating above. It's letting Sui. Danger zone, no surprise there, as I talked about it earlier. But look where it is. It's still in this omega downtrend on the USD chart, and it doesn't look flash against Bitcoin either. So it's just been such a disappointment since this first run. It's lost a lot of its steam, a lot of its luster, and this is where you have to be careful with some of your FA forecasts. Is that Sui has a constant unlock of tokens. Now you could argue Solana's got infinite tokens, all that, but for a new token to come out and for it to launch into essentially the back end of a pretty non-existent altcoin or Bitcoin bull market, but non-existent altcoin bull market, it just had consistent token releases into a really poor environment, and that creates higher inflation. And if the demand, so new buyers isn't coming in to hold up price, every time they have a token unlock, it's going to get sold into. And we've kind of seen a similar dynamic to Bitcoin in that, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Sui tends to have these sort of pumps up, and it might be just a liquidity grab or maybe some market makers playing some games, but it runs into overhead levels and then gets completely sold off to a new level. You can see here, run up,